the diaspora conference now. People are talking about the FIFA World Cup, and they're also talking about two local hot matters. Now, I don't want to spend all of my time this morning talking. I want to hear from you. Yes, I want to hear from you on these two hot matters. Hot matter one, that third country national program, that arrangement that the US government and the Jamaican government have struck, and which has been the source of controversy ever since the Gleaner dropped that story on Tuesday morning about reports that 10,000 third country nationals will be coming here in total, or could be coming here in total. And the concerns which germinated from that report. The National Security Minister, Minister of National Security and Peace, Dr. Horace Chang, our Deputy Prime Minister, responded to that. A written statement, then he sent an audio statement, then he gave a statement in Parliament. So intense time of responding and issuing statements from the Deputy Prime Minister, trying to manage this issue, because the initial reaction, very negative to this report, because a reasonable man reading that and saying 10,000, and the details that the Gleaner gave made it appear as if, these were 10,000 people who could end up staying here. Yeah, there were some of the details attendant to it for fuller understanding weren't available, and based on what they reported, based on what they had, that was the impression that was formed. People are saying, but this is political suicide. How could the Holness administration do this? Well, in light of what Dr. Chang has said, there's a fuller understanding, but there are still grave misgivings. You heard JFJ's Executive Director, Michael Jackson, speaking about the human rights concerns. Yesterday morning when we were on NTM, I went into the idea behind the program, the policy that the Trump administration is looking to implement, why persons who are from one country go to the US, which is the second country, and are then sent to a third country, which would be Jamaica, why they're using that method to get them out of the US, to get them away from interfacing with the US court system as they look to send them back to their home country, or to a country that will receive them. That Trump policy has gotten cooperation from dozens of governments around the world. In this part of the world as well, you've had some. And so Jamaica called upon now to do its share. And, these matters are never easy. And I hear people with some strong views. And I say to them that, from the initial reports, there was every reason to feel concerned. There was every reason to feel angry that it was the media that put this thing on the front burner, and not the government coming to the people to say so and so. But it's understood that the government was going to come. Well, we don't know if they would have come. What we're sure of is that the Gleaner published the story, and the government was forced to respond. And people are very upset that this was not something that was put on the table and a national conversation had and led by both the National Security Minister, Foreign Affairs Minister to an extent, and even the Prime Minister. And some strong views expressed in the Parliament yesterday. By the way, our Parliament continues to be a disgrace because of the conduct of certain people who are there for the grandstanding, and even worse than them by their behavior are those of you who encourage them to behave in this way. But this morning is not the morning to talk about parliamentarians who are not upholding positive values and not distinguishing themselves as legislators, and the come on boy, come on girl behavior that we're seeing in our House of Representatives. Thank God the Senate hasn't caught that draft yet. And may the Senate continue to sap its mole with beer rum to prevent it from catching up what the House of Representatives is struggling with, sitting after sitting. Absolutely disgraceful. But anyway, that's for another time. So it is right to slate the administration for something like this, which has been in the works, to not come and have a national conversation. There can be no way to spin it to say, well, it would have been too early to come. Details were being worked out because based on Dr. Chang's responses and the finality in those responses, it does seem as if the plan and the program is worked out. He spoke with finality about what will happen. There were arguments raised about concerns which he tried to debunk with statements of finality. No, 10,000 will not be staying here. If it goes beyond 25, we have the right to shut down the program, to stop receiving people. The costs will be borne by Washington. Kingston won't spend a cent. Jamaican taxpayers won't be called upon to keep and care those who are in this transitory phase. And for those who want to stay in Jamaica, they'll have to apply through the asylum process that anyone who wants to stay in Jamaica who's not Jamaican has to subject themselves to. So those were final statements. So there is no excuse why this conversation ought not to have been had with the Jamaican people. That this is a statement that should not have been made in Parliament. That this is a statement that should have found its way itself up for discussion at a post-cabinet media briefing. And for those piloting this arrangement on our end to come and make themselves available for questioning on it so that we could have a full understanding. The fact that the media brought it to the fore, the Gleaner did, and forced the responses, which as I note were final, suggests that there was enough information for the government to have come to the public before. And so, it is a bad mark that we had to learn by the way, and then the government running in a circle, trying to catch its tail on this one. Bad form, all round. I take my first break, and when I return, Wheatley and the Integrity Commission deserve to be honored on Father's Day, and you could have been one of these baskets from MK Lux events, yeah? I see Rasta Rock Jamaican in the chat saying, how can you have a national conversation on this topic? Come on. Why do you think we elect representatives? It's not everything has to be discussed in public. No, Rasta Rock, you have it wrong. Nobody's calling for it to be discussed in public. The discussions take place between yourself and your bilateral partners. In this case, the Jamaican and the United States governments. That's where the discussion takes place. The final determination, the action plan, you take that to your people and you tell them, gentle people, this is what we have discussed, this is what we have agreed, this is the situation, and then you allow yourself or the media who's representing the people who don't have proximity to these leaders to ask questions about it. So nobody's calling for it to be discussed in public. No, sir. That's not how these things work. Yeah, you said, why do you think we elect representatives? It's not everything has to be discussed in public. We elect representatives to act on our behalf. When Holness chairs cabinet, it's not a private club. And I'm sure he doesn't operate it like that. It's a subset of the people of Jamaica elected and then appointed by him to form a brains trust and an action trust. Not even just brains. It's not just thinking that they do things, they act. So it's a subset of us, the Jamaican people, that discuss, and then one of their number is sent forward to then tell the people who elected them and who gave Holness the imprimatur and the power to appoint those who are not elected but appointed, to say to those people, well, this is what we discussed and agreed on your behalf. That's how governance works, Rastarak. So that's what we're talking about. Yes? And before I leave this issue of the third country nationals,